Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Drunken Cryptid.
Was these two globes. I don't know how to describe them. And I stood up there and looked at them, and it's like...
I just couldn't hold it anymore, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was a chupacabra. I was so excited.
They were referring to Bigfoot.
There were voices in the darkness.
And welcome back to another episode of The Drunken Cryptids. And of course, I'm Matthew, your host. And, we do everything raw and scripted around here. I'm Matthew Orton, your host. And across from me this evening is y'all's favorite co-host, Jacob. Everybody say hi to Jacob.
What's up, everybody?
And a quick shout out, of course, I got to give it up to Dylan over at blademedia.com. Dylan, the website, the new website is amazing. Thank you for all the hard work you put into it, man. It's great. It looks great. I seriously, if you guys want an example of what Dylan can do for you on the multimedia side, go check out drunkencryptids.com. You're gonna love it. And of course, if you like the show, share us, give that 5-star review. We appreciate all the comments, everything, and all the support and love. And, of course, big news, we just won the Best Documentary Podcast in Arkansas.
Yeah, I know you were telling me the other day.
I just want to know, how did we get selected for, documentary? I don't understand, but, hey, I'm going to run with it, and I'm going to accept the award anyways for it. So, But, yeah, so we can now add an award to our belt.
Yeah, we can.
Not too bad for a couple little boys from Arkansas, huh?
Nope.
Well,
we got to drive up to Fayetteville to go get it.
That'll be a lot of fun. But again, of course, Tommy Gunner, appreciate all the hard work behind the back, and of course, the rest of the team. Real quick events coming up, you guys. I am going to be holding a town hall meeting with the Arkansas boys and Todd Neese on February 8th. It's going to be at the
Paradise Pizza
in Ozarka, Arkansas, and that's going to be from 1 to 3. Myself, Todd Neese, will be the main speakers there, so come on out and see us. And, of course, as of the airing, we have another special announcement we'll be making when we bring our guest on here in a second. But let's see here. We got that going on. And then let's see here. What other trip? We're going to be going to Ada, Ohio next year.
Yep, for the Bigfoot Jamboree.
Yep, Ada, Ohio. So that's going to be on October 5th, and that's going to be an all-day event, and that's in Ada, A-D-A, Ohio. So it'll actually be my third trip to Ohio.
Oh, nice.
It's the fourth?
It's the fourth.
It is the fourth. Why I got the fifth on there? Who was that talking?
The fourth.
The fifth was this year.
It was the fifth this year?
Yeah, that's fourth next year.
Fourth next year. Speaking of the fourth next year, you guys, I want to welcome on our special guest tonight. And before I bring him on, I get asked all the time about how we got involved in a podcast and how we came up with the name and everything, right?
Yeah.
So, and Jacob, you already know the story, but for everybody else out there, so I kept asking what a podcast was. And of all people that kind of point in the direction of a podcast, Jacob, it was you. And so, the first one you sent me to was Searching for Sasquatch.
Okay.
The Sasquatch Chronicles. Sorry,
Yeah.
Search for Sasquatch, the documentary that I'm in. So you sent me to that one, and I got a kick out of West, to where, had that crazy encounter at the Fort Hood, the AHA event. So emailed it to him. Me and West talked, got on the show. I was like, this is kind of fun. So digging around through, I found another podcast that I really did enjoy called The Confessionals. And through that, I heard these two guys. And I was trying to figure it out because they sounded like they were having more fun than anybody else was. So I found out what their podcast was. I had to back it up. They were on a really big, long show. And I backed it up and found out, what the name of the show, pulled them up. And started on, there was one episode, and I do believe it involved a giant spider, only because, Ben loves spiders. So I had to listen to this spider story.
Yeah.
And their approach, everything they brought to the table for cryptids, paranormal, blew me away. I had to back all the way up. I started from episode 1, and I got a kick out of listening to their journey from episode 1 all the way to where they're at today. And I got lucky enough to be a guest on their show this year. And if you remember, I was so excited about it.
Oh, I know.
I was. It's like a little kid. I was. So
Kid in a candy store.
So to me, having our guest on the night, this guy, the approach he brings to everything, and he's so smart. If you listen to him, he's so smart, but he's so nice. He's so kind. He's, he's the smartest guy in the room who's not the smartest guy in the room. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you say that somebody's the smartest, always, you never want to be the smartest guy in the room because then you can't learn anything. Justin is the smartest guy in the room. But Justin's also not the smartest guy in the room because he's not coming across as the smartest guy in the room. And if you have an idea, he's going to listen. And if it makes sense, he's going to say, yeah, okay, that makes sense. If it doesn't, he's going to look at you and tell you why it doesn't. Okay. And then he's going to back it up with facts. They do a live show on their Facebook page every Tuesday morning. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not on Patrick and the People, I listen to them because I do my show with them every Tuesday morning as well.
Yeah.
So somebody will type something in the comments about a strange cryptid or something to do, like on their show today, with Australia.
Yeah.
And how they originally got to Australia. Justin spent 15 minutes explaining all of this, how this was happening, land bridges, everything. I mean, and I was just driving going, are you kidding me?
Land bridges, yeah.
No, yeah, but this is the way Justin has it. Justin, I just want you to know that I'm truly honored to be on the show, to have you on my show. I really, really am. And so without further ado, you guys, ladies and gentlemen, of the Drunken Cryptids, let me introduce you to the famous Justin, a.k.a. Mystery from Cryptids of the Corn.
Well, that deserved a crack and a beer right there.
well, you're catching right up with us then.
Oh, I mean, I'm half a case down right now.
Oh,
you're fitting right in with us.
Today's, Tuesdays are we record. I don't leave this room all day.
Yeah.
But no, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm gonna ever be able to buy a hat again after how big my head just got.
Well, I mean, I said more actually off the air, and
I know,
and I mean it though.
For about 35 minutes. No, it's a super honored to be here. Thank you so much. It means the world, everything you said, because you said something really important to me personally, is that we're having fun, right? And me and Jay agreed a long time ago. The second this isn't fun, the second this is not what we started, it's over, kind of deal. Because it's fun, it's what I do for a living now. I'm very, very, very blessed by the listeners we have and the supporting community we have. This is I haven't even told our group this. This is the first month our Patreon has surpassed the ad revenue, which is a pretty big deal for us. Because it's like I said, this is what I do for a living. So the community that's come around us, we are always amazed, always blessed, and always thankful for those guys and gals that are in those groups. And we think, like, the kind of words you said, getting into podcasting, it's a crazy thing. And just want to say thank you for having me on here.
No, the pleasure and the honor is all mine. And for the audience, for my audience, I mean, if you guys haven't heard of Cryptids of Corn, I don't even know why you're listening to my show, to be honest with you. I mean, seriously, you should stop right now, jump over to Cryptids of Corn, and then come back to me.
Arkansas.
Do what?
It's the best documentary podcast in Arkansas.
You're absolutely right. It sure is. We've been running for 9 months.
Man, we're still baffled how we got it.
Yeah. 9 months. I've been a podcaster for 9 months.
I've been a podcaster for 3 years.
Well, you're the best documentary podcast in my book. I'll tell you that right now. In my world, you're number one. And that's the truth. Oh, but here's the thing. Well, check this out. So, I mean, not only do they do Cryptids of the Corn, they do another show, DW Shack, which is...
That's not us.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They produce the show.
Oh, they produce?
They produce this show, right? And those guys are hilarious. Wilbur is great. You have to check it out. And then, but my other one, and these are the ones I have been listening to. They do a Freaky Fauna Friday.
Okay.
So every Friday, Mr. E pulls out some weird random animal or insect, anything of, seriously, and they'll spend 15, maybe 20 minutes talking about it.
That's kind of neat.
It's
kind of cool.
Yeah, and they want, and they also, it's. But again, too, though, the key part is how much fun they have on the show. And when you listen to, I mean, seriously, you would think so many times the way they go at it, it's almost how sometimes you and me go at it. to where like I'm going to hit you or something. I actually think that I really do believe that Justin's hit Jay a few times, and Jay takes it.
I've thrown stuff.
Have you hit him? Have you got him?
I've never hit him.
Oh,
There's you guys cameras not on. We have a blue door and a green a green screen studio, so the whole walls are painted green, doors painted blue, like neon blue. And I throw stuff at the door whenever I get mad. So you can hear it in some of the episodes, this loud like bang, and it always sounds like I'm beating him. It's literally me throwing something out a door.
It's hilarious. It is. And again, for my audience, if you haven't listened to them, please go. And they're really easy to follow. They're on all your streaming platforms. They're on social media. Facebook. They trust me, you're not going to be disappointed. And the best part too, though, is what I love is you guys come at this. I'm talking about like you're not in the room. They come at this approach with such an open scientific mind, to where they kind of inspired me to pull Travis on the show that we did the last two episodes we did with Travis. Now, I have a good friend of mine. He's been in law enforcement for over 20 years, does investigating on pretty bad crimes. Not to try and give anything away about him, because we're trying to keep that hush hush for him. And he brought a really unique black and white perspective into some cryptids. And I pulled up some stories, and we talked about them and some encounters, and we broke it down. And then I got into a good theory about the full moon, on why I think the full moon actually can affect certain people because of gravitational pull, and maybe that's kind of throwing their chemical balance off of that gravitational pull and the gray matter in their brain. So it was kind of nice to have that kind of perspective from somebody. But the way Justin does it, though, is, again, Justin's like this walking encyclopedia. And he's helped out numerous other shows to where they'll call him up and they're like, hey, we heard this weird sound, and they'll play it for him. And a day later he comes back and he goes, oh, that's the such and such.
Huh.
He's just got this awesome knack of digging in and jumping into everything. And I'm like, I'm bragging about the guy. I'm not giving him a chance to talk, and I feel bad about it. But I was going to tell you, Justin, my favorite. So I love your end of season series. I absolutely love them. I love them. I love them. I love the longer, the better, because I know the longer they are, the more in depth you're going to get into, and you're gonna dive right into it.
They've become such a problem for anybody. Don't know. The season finales we started, and now I may get confused here. It should have been, I believe, it was Mothman, Loch Ness, Bermuda Triangle, Uinta Basin, oh gosh,
Denver.
And then what was and dinosaurs.
Okay.
Those are the 5 we've done for season finales.
You did Denver, though.
Denver was a 2-parter. Denver was a big episode too.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a season finale.
Yeah, I thought it was. Because that was one of my favorite ones.
Because our season finales are like minimum 6 hours, and I think we got up to 10.5 hours on this one. And for anybody that doesn't know, if you've listened to that and you're not aware, those are recorded straight. We sit down and we literally start for a season finale, we start at like 9 a.m. and we end sometime in the evening. And when you sit down, because it's part of it, it's part of the journey, is that, it's, you guys are going to hear it over multiple weeks, depending on how many times we split it up. But to us, people seem to really enjoy when we're exhausted and it's at the very end. And I'm screaming about the Time Police Council. It's real. It's real. And how dinosaurs never went extinct, or how Loch Ness Monster is a giant salamander, or how the Uinta Basin is one of the 3 places I'll never go in my life.
I grew up there, right?
In the Uinta?
Yeah.
You're dumb. You're dumb.
No, we had a cabin up in the Uintas. We went up there. I pretty much spent my summers up there as a kid growing up. Yeah. So I didn't know about the. Skinwalker Ranch obviously was there, but it wasn't called that at the time.
That was the Shermans by the time when you were there.
Yep. To where, and my stepdad told me when the show came out, he said, that's about 30 miles as the crow flies from where our cabin was at. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, no wonder we had weird stuff happen up there as a kid.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's a lake up there called Hellhole Lake, and
Yep.
yep, and that's actually one of my favorite places in the whole world to go. And it's gorgeous,
Well,
and
that's
that's where I got the handprint from.
That's just
Fits
just
everything.
awful.
Just fits everything in, doesn't it? Because that's where my love for everything cryptid came in. At was growing up in that area.
Then the Loch Ness Monster season finale, which that was probably the first thing that ever got me into any of this stuff, way before the Bigfoot, way before any of it, and me screaming about the eDNA test at Loch Ness for 15 minutes, just unhinged. We've been recorded for like 8.5 hours. So yeah, the season finales hold a special place in our heart because they're a labor of love, and they just keep getting bigger and bigger. And this next one, which I won't ruin for anybody, this next one's probably going to be the craziest, but I say that every time. And I don't know what I'm going to do after this one because I don't know how to top them anymore.
You're gonna come up with something because it's you. And every time, to be honest with you, every season ender, you say the same thing. I know I'm going to top this one.
Yeah. But now they're like 10 and a half, 12 hours long. And it's one episode. The thought is just keep doing smelling salts and keep doing episodes.
Now, well, you guys are rocking it out. I mean, they're dropping episodes almost daily over there, though.
5 days a week. We have episode coming out 5 days a week.
Yeah, so especially the Patreon members, they get awesome treats over there. So definitely, guys, definitely go check it on out. But so Justin, I have a ton of questions for you.
Let's rock and roll.
All right, so right off the bat, all right, so we can come back and circle around on another episode. I'm hoping you'll come back on again, and we'll talk about your Bigfoot encounter. But I want to talk about you. You have another milestone another notch in your belt you're about to put onto your bio.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Don't you have a book coming out?
Oh, well, technically it's done. It's here. It's right here. I'm holding it. I would show you, but there's no cameras.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it earlier today.
Living UFOs, The Ocean Above Our Head, a study of atmospheric biology by Justin England. Now, this has been... Here's the thing: is I started this book before Atlas, my son, was born, and I had twin girls this summer. So this has been a long time coming. The book and the creation of this process. Well, I don't even know where you want me to go with this.
Well, so everybody knows the movie Nope. If they're in their our genre and they're paying attention, like I actually watched the movie Nope because of y'all's episode, and where y'all talked about y'all came out with it before.
First episode out about the living UFOs before Nope's first trailer released. I got so mad about it. I don't get mad about anything with this stuff. I just don't care. Yeah, you want to call me a liar? I most time I cite sources. I tell you where you can go look stuff up. I don't care. Nobody knows anything with this stuff. We're all working with in the dark with screwdrivers and pop cans. And that one is where you guys just copied this from Nope. Look at the dates.
See, that's the key thing. I did. I paid attention.
I'm yelling at people.
I'm
just yelling. Just look at the dates. We had the first episode, and we actually almost had the second episode out before the first trailer dropped on this subject. So this is a subject that I wish Jay was here because he'd tell you. I literally called him from work when I worked at the hospital because that was at the hospital, I cooked, and it was a really small hospital, so I only cooked for the patients that were staying over and that kind of stuff. So it was only ever, the max it could have been is 6 people. So, and I would feed like 3 nurses and a doctor. So 90% of my shift, I was completely alone. And I was allowed to listen, I was allowed to have one earbud in. Boss was a little strict about stuff, but so my middle boss was like, "I'll do it," and then my head boss didn't like it, but it was whatever. So I listen. So like 8-9 hours a day, sometimes 10 hours, listening to podcasts and listening to all this stuff. And then one day I just clicked, and I was yelling that I called Jay, and I was just yelling that they're all mushrooms. They're all mushrooms. And then I hung up. And so that's all he ever heard. And he's just like, he didn't know what it was. He didn't. So the Betty and Barney Hill incident. Now, this is not the first time I had the thought of UFOs maybe being alive. But this is the first time I had the thought of UFOs being earthbound organisms. And by that, I mean, we can get into all that. You know, there's a book sitting beside me about it. There's tons and tons of stuff with it. And the Betty Barney Hill incident was listening to. So the Betty Barney Hill incident is a really, really weird one. Because if you don't know, Betty was into UFOs. She was like almost not quite a hippie chick, but pretty close to it. Her and her sister had talked about before the UFO incident that if they ever seen one, they would try to get into one. They would stand under it so they could, go up into a UFO kind of deal. Barney, so you guys know the story, but for your listeners,
yeah. So I know. So I'm making sure. Yeah. So for everybody out there, Betty Barney Hill, like the most famous UFO abduction case, besides the kid out of I just talked about the other night, Fire in the Sky.
Travis.
Yeah, Travis Walton. So Betty and Barney Hill is.
We've met Travis and talked to Travis a lot, but Betty and Barney, they were an interracial couple. Barney was a black man in a time where black men were not supposed to marry white women. That was very, very, very frowned upon. He lived in a very, very racist community, and he held office. He was a postmaster general of the area. So Barney had about, as far as a black man in his day, about every strike against him. So Barney was always on edge. He had been beaten several times. So Barney lived a very, very tortured life for his love, essentially. And Betty was the complete opposite as far as spirit. Betty was super in love with Barney, and she was just this open, almost kind of, the best way I can kind of describe it for us modern people is like a hippie chick, but not quite what you think about, like not a flower child, but love and excited and happy all the time. And Barney was like that. And then, due to systemic racism in his areas and him holding office, him marrying a white woman, he had tons and tons and tons of strike against him with the racists that he lived around. So one day they get this urge to go up to Niagara Falls. And Betty and Barney can't explain it. They never still, they're not, when they were alive, they could never explain it. And they go up to Niagara Falls and they don't really remember much of the trip. And then on the way back, they say that maybe there was construction workers that pushed them off onto this side road, but they really, really don't remember a lot. And then Barney was compelled to pull over. He pulled over. Stories vary a little bit, whether they had to pee, whether they've seen something. Most stories go that they seen something in the woods, bright lights. They pulled over. Barney gets his gun out of the trunk. He had a handgun. And that's kind of, and I'm giving the very, very, the cliff notes of this story. This is an incredible encounter with many, many, many details I'm leaving out.
Yes.
So entities, now the story splits here. Betty had a completely different experience with similar entities than Barney did. So Betty was welcomed onto the ship, was given a tour, was given a book that she wasn't allowed to take, was shown star maps and charts, and she just had an amazing time with the leader of this vessel. She was, once again, a very happy, chill, go lucky person. And she had a very happy, chill, go lucky encounter. Barney had a very tortured, frightened existence at this point in his life. Barney was strapped down, tortured, had instruments strapped to his genitalia, got weird diseases on his genitalia after this encounter. He was essentially, for lack of a better term, raped in this encounter. Okay. So they wake up about 40 miles from their home. They're missing several hundred miles of road trip. They're driving. Barney wakes up driving behind the wheel. And they aren't panicked. They're almost in a state of mute, as if they were coming down off of a bad trip. And any of our mushroom friends that take mushrooms will know what I'm talking about. So when they get back, obviously they're visited by the men in black. And I, like I said, omitting tons and tons of details.
No, you're
When
doing
the Men in
great.
Black, when the Men in Black come to visit them, they ask dozens and dozens and dozens of questions to Barney and Betty. One question that stuck out, and it's question, I believe, number 74 on the Betty Barney Hill investigation by these Men in Black, as far as Barney can remember, is, was there any nitrates in the car? And Barney goes, well, what the hell's a nitrate? And the Men in Black kind of describe, it's hot dogs are heavy in nitrates, that kind of stuff, and fertilizer. And Barney goes, well, there was 400 pounds of fertilizer in the trunk. And the Men in Black asked if it was still there, and he says, no, it's not there. It's gone. So if these were aliens or any kind of thing, interdimensional demons, or however you want to flip this, what would they have the need for high nitrate fertilizer? Why does that matter? Why, you can go to the store and get it. It's not rare on this planet. So this opened me up to the fungus and upper atmospheric creatures. Being, why would they pick nitrate over food sources? Why don't they eat people and all that stuff? And this is a short version, to get lift, to have powered flight, and they probably have compression, almost like a compression in the system, or like a jet system, where they're compressing air shooting through to move incredibly fast and maneuver very quickly. That they would have to have high density foods. By that I mean whatever they're eating or absorbing, they need foods high in it with low weight. So a human has tons and tons of garbage for our weight, as far as a creature like this would be eating. That would be good to take on. We are really, really heavy with water. So 400 pounds of fertilizer is a lot more nutritious than 400 pounds of people. So my whole theory is there's tons and tons of mushrooms that are psychedelic. There's tons and tons of mushrooms that are psychedelic in their spores. This is one type of several types we've discovered since then, is that they may have psychedelic properties just being close to them. By that I mean they're kind of shedding scales off their mantles, and it causes people to hallucinate so they can take advantage of food sources. Now, after we found that out, we did so much research, and we found tons of hot dog trucks and like processed ham trucks that had all of their cargo gone after a UFO encounter. And the guy really had, like, it was trippy. So the way Betty and Barney Hill really go into it, it really sounds like a mushroom trip, and then they were coming down, and then, Barney unfortunately died of, now I get this confused all the time, either a brain aneurysm or a heart attack. I think he had both at one point. And very shortly after this, Barney's life was ruined, completely ruined by this encounter, and Betty's was forever changed in the positive, as she would put it. So with mushroom tripping, for all of our people that have done mushrooms, what is very, very important? Mindset. When you go into these, mushroom trips, the psilocybin, your mindset will reflect the kind of encounter you have. And as we dived into this certain type, you could kind of see that more and more and more. And that's the first kind of inkling we got into this.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, too, especially when you said that Barney, stopped the vehicle and he got his handgun out of the trunk. So he was already on edge. And so if these are living UFOs and he is having a bad trip, I mean, he's going to have a trip, it's going to be a bad one. You're absolutely right. I mean, I've never done shrooms or anything, any kind of psychedelic at all. So, I mean, I have zero experience in that department. But you're right. I've had numerous friends, and they've all said the same thing. If you're going to go on a mushroom trip, you have to have the right mindset. If not, it's not going to be a good trip. And, they've talked about people who've gone on these trips with a bad mindset, and it's been like this horrific, seeing crazy monsters and stuff like that coming out and weird things. So that makes a ton of sense. And now you said also, though, that didn't NASA send a balloon all the way up there, and this is how the organisms were found?
You want to talk about? So all this is covered in the book, Living UFOs. You can get it off of cryptidsofthecorn.com under this book tab. You can get it signed there, and I'll even show you a custom little jellyfish, which is a big section of the book is focused on the jellyfish type and the manta ray types. You can also get it off of Amazon if you're out of country. As of now, I ship the books to the UK, Australia, America, Canada, all that. But if you're in a country that's not listed, please reach out. I will make it happen for you. I'm happy to do it, believe me. Before I answer your question about NASA, we all have opinions on NASA. None of them are very favorable. Now, I think it's, for me, about the same as the Smithsonian, is that there are good people working for a quote-unquote scientific agency that they believe in. They are not bad people. They are scientists most of the time in their respective fields working. And then there's the back-of-house stuff that is lying, covering up, and all of that. The Smithsonian, we've done many episodes on that. The front-of-house Smithsonian, the scientists, all that, they have no idea what the back-of-house does. NASA, in my opinion, is a very similar organization. Is that there are reputable people working in their respective fields, and there are not. There are bad people working doing bad things. So with the NASA study, and now I've been drinking for a while, boys.
Yeah, all right.
Now I'm gonna try not to get my dates mixed up. I believe it was 1617. They did the first upper atmospheric life studies. Now, there's a device that I was a fisheries biologist, is the best way to explain it for people. We used a device to look at microbes and macroinvertebrates. Macro just means you can see them. Micro means you can't. With the naked eye, that is. Now, these devices were called heterodendes, aka bug hotels. They have varying levels of distance in between, basically pucks, and so that would prevent bigger organisms from coming in and eating them. But they varied from sizes, so you get the big organisms still. It's very hard to explain without looking up a picture of them. So everybody at home, it's called a heterodende, if you want to see one. So this was not a heterodende they put up in the upper atmosphere, but that's the closest thing I can kind of use to describe it. It was a fancy microbe / macro hotel. It had food and all that stuff in it. So when NASA was doing these balloon surveys, they were expecting to find anywhere from, they were really hoping to find 14 species of anything. So by that, I mean, plants, fungus, algae, any of that stuff, right?
Right.
So they were very hopeful to find 14 as their goal. The first group of studies were very contaminated and very hard to get a look at. But the 2017 one, they got around 4,000. And then later on, they got around 10,000. But they think it was more than that. And I'm talking species. They think it was more than that because the thing started eating each other faster than they expected. So where they expected to find 14 species, they probably found around 14,000 species. And this, it represents every biological clade that does not have a spine. Now, I'll break that down for you. Clade is a big group. It's not everything, right? Everything fits into a clade. But every biological clade that is an invertebrate, essentially. And plus algae, fungi. So there's a jellyfish-like cousin up there. Some worms and that. There's every family group, every clade has a representative in the upper atmosphere. And then the last study was the 2019 one, which I was talking about, around 10,000 species found. After that, everybody knows what happened in 2019, right? The word happened.
Yep.
The world stopped for a couple of years. And as far as we know, they never publicly went back into that study. And the study's in the book, and not the whole abstract of the study, but where you can find the study, because it is extremely hidden by NASA. If anybody's never messed with the NASA portal, quote unquote, all of their data is public-ish. To find anything is extraordinary. It is such a hard data site to use. So I put it in the book for you. It's the very last thing besides the Bible verses in the book. It's the second to last thing. So you can go find it yourself. But yeah.
That's, again, your first episode about that was honestly one of my favorites and answered so many questions. To where when you were saying about they're mushrooms, just mushrooms. That's what it's got to be. And you go in the detail on your show, on that episode. I talked about that for weeks and weeks. And when further down in your episodes, when you talk about, the movie Nope, that's when I was like, okay, let me look this movie Nope up. I'd heard of it, didn't know anything about it. So I had an idea after listening to your show what it was and pulled it up. And me and my ex were watching it. And she goes, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, it makes all the sense. So, and it's
hard to understand without looking into it.
Well, yeah, and of course, didn't the U.S. government kind of help fund that or advise that?
What do you mean? What do you mean? I couldn't even put anything about the movie in the book with it. So it's so red taped. No, so the U.S. government, if you watch the credits, you see I can't remember off the top of my head if it's I think it may have been the Department of Defense gave funding for the movie Nope.
Jacob shaking his head yes, so I guess he's remembering that because I think I mentioned that to you to watch that part at the end.
Yeah, because after you watch it, you're like, dude, you got to watch this. I'm like, I don't know about that. And I watched it. It's a little bit different than when you start thinking about regular extraterrestrials.
No, but what I like the fact too though is that so while the movie was being made and Justin didn't know anything about the movie being made, but Justin comes up with this theory and then starts digging into it, and this is what he finds. And he finds enough evidence of it, and now he has a book out about it.
Yeah.
So to me, I've been on that for ever since then, digging in. So when I hear people talk about, I had a pilot come on my show some months ago, and he was talking about these lights that he saw up in the sky, and they have their own separate line that pilots talk to, for the airline that he works for, and they were all seeing it. In the same area where it was at, and the patterns and everything he was describing fit everything in with organics, how they were moving, what they were doing. And I was just like going, and so I told him, I was like, well, what do you think? Do you think it could be this? And I threw the organic at it, and he goes, well, I guess because we don't have any craft that can move that way. And it was just the lights.
For the lights and that kind of stuff, a big thing I get pushback on is how could an organic, a living creature look like that? So I'll give you a big chunk of the book is comparing the upper atmospheric zones. So we live in what's called the troposphere, and we're talking about the stratosphere above us. And there's a whole diagram in the book to kind of explain to you. The goal, and maybe I left it out a little earlier, this first book, I have already several that I'm working on with this subject. This book is an intro-level book into the subject. The whole point of this specific book is to get the ideas flowing. It has many, many, many of my theories and thoughts and research into it at an easy reading level. Because the next book, we're working on 2 right now. One's a bigger encounter book, because this one has tons and tons of encounters. But I pulled a bunch of them out of the research for this. That are for the next book. I mean, probably only a third of the encounters made it into this one. So I pulled a bunch of those. And the next book is going to be a much more in-depth look. We're actually finding some more scientific research articles and up from universities from around the world that have maybe accidentally stumbled upon the subject. But comparing the ocean to the atmosphere. So like I said, we live in the troposphere, which only goes up to about 10 miles. And the human eye, unabated, can see about 10 miles. What does that mean? Because I've had, when I just said this before, I had people comment say, well, how come we can see the moon then, right? The moon's so much farther away than 10 miles. So when I said unabated, I put that word in there specifically. The moon is reflecting massive amounts of lights, and it's absolutely massive. So there's that, that kind of differentiates a little bit than the main thing we're talking about. So when we're talking about, the human eye unabated 10 miles, we're talking about most normal objects. You couldn't see a tree from 10 miles, or, the average human couldn't. So the troposphere ends at about the 10 miles, and that's where our weather systems end. The area we talk about a lot in the book is what we're looking at is between the stratosphere and the mesosphere, which are the next 2 layers up. and they roughly go from that 10 miles to about 45 miles, and from 45 miles to about 90 miles above us. Or sorry, not 40. For about 10 to 35 and 35 to 60-ish, depending on which chart you're looking at and whatnot. Now, when you guys were in school, were you taught that the higher you go up in the atmosphere, the colder it gets?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you guys know that's wrong?
Yep.
So I know you guys know, but for everybody at home, as you go up towards the troposphere stratosphere layer, which is, we live in the troposphere, as you go up towards the stratosphere layer, it does get colder and colder and colder. Once you cross this hard barrier, which is roughly the ozone barrier, it starts going back up towards warm again until you get to the greatest layer, which is between the stratosphere and the mesosphere, which is where it's about 45 to 50 degrees and has a lot of moisture again. So these are where I think a lot of these creatures live most of the time, which is like 35, 40 miles up for most of us. So these guys have about 50 degrees, tons and tons of water, and we can't even see their environment. So this area, if I only make it 5 miles wide, is the largest single environment on the planet, way over 10-fold. Life fits into every nook and cranny. So like I already told you with the NASA studies, that's the plankton. So you don't find plankton, or you don't normally see plankton without the sharks and whales. So these creatures we go on to describe are the sharks and whales. And I maybe left this out already. I may have said it. It's how it works. I really only think, before anybody bites my head off, this is only about 5% of UFO sightings. It's a very, very specific subset of UFO sightings. So I really only think it's about 5% of UFO sightings are these creatures, and there's several groups of them. We already described the living disc, which would be the mushrooms. Living clouds, which there are several types of the amorphous clouds. Everything from what I believe are colonial organisms, which are basically a bunch of small animals holding arms together, essentially, to form a big body. The jellyfish and the manta rays. So they're both massive. The manta rays are these gelatinous, transparent monsters that are almost transparent, like they're almost see-through. And every person that's had a close encounter with them, and I've talked to these guys, I've met these guys, they describe a sense of awe watching these gentle giants glide by, essentially. And these people universally describe this feeling. There's one that got turned into us a long time ago. However, manta ray is a really, really famous one, where they do these giant figure eights, which is the same thing open ocean filter feeders do when they're filter feeding. And I think the jellyfish and the manta ray shaped organisms are your massive filter feeders, your whales, your manta rays, your basking sharks. There is the sky snakes or the sky worms, which are probably more like your sharks. There are what we call sky squids, which have a rough body shape comparable to that of a squid. Jellyfish, squids, sky snakes, living clouds, and the disc. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody off the top of my head. This is, like I said, this book it's been a work for a long time, and I really hope it serves to be an intro. This first book is not a catch-all. It is not a definitive answer. It is not. It's not supposed to be. This is supposed to be an intro to the subject, as a person that knows nothing of it, and to give you a base idea of my theories that I've come to believe through this. I do not claim everything in this book, as far as my theories, is fully correct. It's a theory. I'm constantly changing, evolving, and working on it. But this book is just to serve to get new people into the subject, because what community has been the hardest with this subject to get to behind?
I'm going to go with the UFO community.
The UFO community.
Yep.
And I cannot tell you, it's not even that they're not interested in it. The amount of I guess hate for to say any UFO is not the government, UFO is not nuts and bolts craft from another world, UFO is not interdimensional, and they're killing each other too. Those big camps.
Yes, they are.
And I'm very, very openly saying this is like 5% of UFO sightings. If your UFO has a tentacle, it's probably not those guys. It's probably one of mine. If you're like, we had one recently in an episode. Your UFO has what's called an ovipositor, which is an organ to deposit eggs into the ground or the water. It's probably not a nuts and bolts craft. It's probably a living creature.
No, you're right.
And, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was say, yeah, you're right. I've actually got a guy who hasn't come on the show, doesn't know if he wants to come on and talk about it. And he described a sky snake in his backyard. He said he had no other way of describing it other than like a flying type of snake. He said he was playing in his backyard. He was about 12 years old, and he went behind the shed, this big shed they had, and this thing was there. And then it just took off into the sky.
Well, I'm gonna need his story for the next book.
Yes, yeah, I'm gonna get you guys hooked up.
You're gonna have to arm wrestle him to get him on.
Yeah, I'll get him arm wrestled. He's all into this stuff, and he's wanting to do some stuff with me on the backside. So once I get him working with me a little bit more, I'm gonna get you two hooked up.
Awesome, because
there's more to the story. I just can't get all the details.
The subject is not new in one sense. And now I'm going to forget his name. Oh, gosh, I didn't take the book out before I started this episode. I have it over there.
Sorry, you can mention the meat shower.
Well, before I mention any of that is another section in the book. Thank you. I did forget a section.
You're welcome.
The raining sky jellies events. Raining, meat and jelly and making people very sick. But before I do that, I want to say this is as far as I can find, before anybody yells at me, as far as I can find in any literature anywhere, this is only the second book ever on the subject. Ever. And the first one was in 1971, where a guy that basically called them space amoebas, which I loved I've read his book. His theories are great. He's got pictures of stuff. Go buy it. So my book is called Living UFOs, The Ocean Above Our Head. His is just called Living UFOs. But it's a great book as far as a guy that ventured into the subject that even maybe some UFOs are alive, right? And the book, in my opinion, is very outdated. And as far as my theories go, very wrong, but they're all theories, right? So I have no proof of what I'm saying. As far as anybody in the cryptid field goes, nobody has any proof. We don't know what Bigfoot is.
Exactly.
So with that being said, that this is only the second book ever, and the first book is also amazing. Buy them both. I don't think he's alive anymore. But it's still, it's a good book to have.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to look and see if he was still alive and see if you two can get together.
I think I looked it up one time. I don't think he is.
That's too bad.
I think he was older in 1971.
It's too bad because that'd be a lot of fun.
That was 55 years ago. see, you're making me feel old because I was born in 75. Yeah, but I'm saying he was already.
I know.
In 1971.
Yeah, no, to me, 71 is not that far away still. I mean, I joined the Army in 93.
I was born in 95.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a 90s baby barely.
You're the same age as my oldest daughter.
There you go.
Yep, I got a grandson from her.
So meat showers, it's not a porno.
That was a Matthew comment right there.
No, it was.
You know how many people have asked me that? That's why I get it out of the way. No, so the Kentucky meat shower is the most famous one. The date is eluding me, but it was in the 1800s.
Yeah, I can't pull the date out either.
Depending on which source you read, was either a homestead was rained down upon with many chunks of meat, or it was about a 3-county stretch, and it was I think a quarter mile wide and about 10 miles long, and it hit 3 different counties. Hundreds, if not thousands of people came upon the substance, and, we're coming up to look at the giant chunks, everything from 6x6 chunks of meat to little tiny, flakes of meat. They came upon it to look. Everybody started eating it, and they had all kinds of guesses of what the meat was. It rained from the sky for 15 minutes. They all had different guesses of what the meat was.
See, I just love the fact, honestly, they ate it. Every
was
time,
during a
every
really
time I
rough
read that, it makes me laugh every time.
It was a rough time in Kentucky.
It had to have been.
So, but here's the thing, is that the guesses ranged from, cow, pig, bear, elk, zebra, people, and all this stuff, right?
Hold on, I
So
want
it's
to talk to the
really-
guy that said it was people.
I know, because he has had people.
Exactly.
I mean,
You
that
don't
would
say,
not
"Huh,
surprise
it tastes
me.
like people."
Huh.
You don't say it tastes like people and everybody just forgets it.
Yeah. I want to meet that guy. Hey, this one guy says like people. What?
Tim, what did you say it tastes like? Pronghorn. Not people,
Yeah.
pronghorn.
Yeah, and the other one said zebra. I want to talk to him too, to be honest with you. Hold on. You're in Kentucky. I know what zebra tastes like.
Oh, that's in Kentucky. That's why I think zebra tastes like. The second a rich guy brought a zebra home, his neighbors murdered it and ate it.
Do you think that maybe it was manna or something like that? I don't know. It's Kentucky in the 1800s. I love my Kentucky fans.
They
Sorry.
could have been praying that hard enough.
Yeah, they could have been. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. I had to interject that real quick.
No, it's all good. No, so they taste. The Smithsonian still has a piece of it in a jar.
Really?
Yeah, and they won't let anybody do any testing on it.
Shocker.
Which Smithsonian
And
is
it
this?
looks weird.
There's
Look it up. You can
there's
look it
only
up
one.
a picture of it.
Oh,
'cause
Jacob's going to look it up, I promise.
I mean, you can. You can
Oh,
do
no,
whatever you want.
no. That's, yeah. Actually, Jacob has not. I want you to know something, Justin. This is the first episode I've not had to look at Jacob 3 times to tell him to put his phone down. You have had him completely entrapped and trying to focus on everything you're saying. And he's been looking at me across the table like, what? I'm like, yeah. And I'm just shaking my head and smiling because I've listened to your show and your theory. So this is, this is great for me. So but you've had Jacob without his phone and he's sober still.
Oh, I am.
So that's something to be proud of.
Bad. Good and bad. You shouldn't be sober. It's bad for your health, I hear.
That's what I tell
Not a
him.
doctor.
Well, he
No,
just bought a brand new truck today, so
Well, there's 2 options, in my opinion, on what the Kentucky meat shower could have been. So some of these massive, what we call the atmospheric amoebas, are the atmospheric, like the big living clouds, essentially. There's tons and tons of encounters in the book, mostly from the south, where it seems like these clouds are throwing up bones, throwing up blood, throwing up fish, throwing up gar scales, all this stuff. And it's, hundreds of encounters of people saying it looked like a cloud, and then it threw up this stuff. So what I told you earlier is that if these are creatures that are inflating themselves by, probably gas-filled sacks and then propelling themselves with maybe some kind of compression system or fins, that the weight is very, very important. So if you're feeding on these things down below, you need to expel the matter that is not that you can't digest very easily. So if we look at stuff like owls, for example, owls throw up the pellets of fur and bone.
Mm-hmm.
Some species of reptile do that as well.
Yep.
So one of the thoughts is that whatever they can't eat, they are throwing up. So bones, scales, that kind of stuff. So the one that rained bones was right after a drought had stranded thousands and thousands of garfish on the bank, and this creatures or scavengers, in our opinion. So it probably ate a bunch of them, digested what it could, threw up.
Crap, we lost him.
We did. Hang on, see if I can't get him back.
That or he just lost signal.
Trying to connect. Hang on. We're going to get him back on, folks. Hang on.
Oh gosh, where'd you lose me at?
I lost you at. So we are still recording because this is how we do it, raw and unfiltered. So we gotta love the power of the internet. So there was a drought, and you believe that these creatures are scavengers, and they came down, swooped in on where these gar were stranded at.
So basically these creatures, they digest the parts they can digest that they can use for food, and then they have to throw up the rest, like owls do with pellets and those kind of tons and tons of animals do that. Some reptiles do that.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys got to maintain buoyancy. So if the living clouds seem to be much more like drifters, right? Free floaters, and they steer essentially. So they need their buoyancy to be, buoyant, to be negative, to float up. So after they digest what they can, they throw up. And, there was all those guards stranded just, 3 days before. With the Kentucky meat shower incident, it could have been that whatever this creature was eating, it was obviously meat-based, whether it was another one of its kind or another atmospheric creature in general, or, land-based meat. It digested what it could and threw up the rest. Another thing animals do a lot is defensively throwing up. So if this creature was being bothered by a predator of some kind, it could have thrown that up. It could have thrown it up so it could go away faster, to distract the predator, to burn the predator. For example, albatross chicks have, which are, it's a big bird. It's one of the biggest flying birds on the planet. They just fly. Albatross chicks, they develop extremely acidic vomit. So when they're being bothered, they throw up on their predators. What happens is it eats the predators, the coating off the wings of the predator, which is normally hawks. And the hawk can't fly away. So the hawks know it's not really worth it to mess with one of these, because mom and dad are 8 times my size, and I'm going to be stuck here till they get back. And they're pretty much going to murder him when they get back. So that's option number 2. Then option number 3 is very similar to an oceanic phenomena called whale falls, where whales, when they die, they are broken, they float, the blubber actually slides off the rest of the body of whales. So the rest of the carcass sinks down below the ocean. The blubber suit kind of stays on top, but they kind of shred on the way down. So let's say these are one of the giant jellyfish. Depending, the jellyfish in the manta rays have been reported to be huge. The jellyfish are much, much bigger, anywhere from 1,600 feet long and 800 feet wide kind of deals, depending on where you're at. So let's say one of those died from natural causes, from predation, way, way up, 35, 40 miles up. When it starts hitting terminal velocity, it may start shredding. It may start pulling itself apart. It may start, just actively disintegrating. So when it hits the ground, there's nothing bigger than it left of it than a softball. But it happens to land over 3 different counties because it's so big. So that's my main theory of what happened in the Kentucky meat shower.
There's also been other cases throughout the world too, though, of
dozens and dozens.
Yeah, gel falling down, gunk, goo.
There's a lot of those in the book. So the book has the encounters, right? And I write the encounters out, and then I give what's called speculative biology, or I use biology to kind of explain what happened in an opinion using a biological lens. So with the jelly events, they may just be different types of creatures. The one that we have in the book talked about making local villagers extremely sick. The symptoms were almost the same as man-o-war, which aren't jellyfish, but they're called jellyfish, man-o-war sting reactions. So it killed many small animals like cats and dogs, and severely injured a young girl and hospitalized several adults, which is pretty common with man-o-war stings. So man-o-wars are what's called cyanophores, which have a giant section in the book. A cyanophore is an ocean organism, quote unquote, that is thousands and tens of thousands of little animals that have individualized jobs that hold on to each other to form a body. So if you Google, anybody at home, Google a man-o-war, man-o-war, and it looks like a one animal. There are tens of thousands of different animals holding on to each other to form that shape. And there's thousands and thousands of different shapes of cyanophore. They take all kinds of crazy shapes. And they have some very, very strong venom. And when they break apart, they look pretty much like jellyfish. So that's what I think happens with some of those star jelly events.
Well, what's funny about the man-o-war, honestly, how I really learned about that, this will make you laugh. So my little son was really big into the Octonauts for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's an Octonaut episode of a man-o-war. So... yeah, and they, what exactly? I had to throw that in there because every time I hear Man-o-War, it's the Octonauts. Yeah, Octonauts is a good show for the kids.
It's a good show. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I do too. We got it. Yeah, we really got into it. We watched the movies, and we had to watch it all the time. And But we had to get the toys, and oh yeah, he was all about. Now he's into Minecraft, which is fine. It's healthy building and imaginative. I'm happy on that one. But
There's worse games.
yes, there's a lot of worse games out there for him. But Justin, so yeah, I want to say the rest for your book because I want to give. To me, you gave a huge teaser for the book, and I want everybody to go and read it because
There are whole
everything you're
chapters
saying is saying, yeah, everything you're saying scientifically adds up, and it makes sense. And you can obviously tell that you've done the research, and you've done years and years of this research, and it's, yeah, I think honestly, your book is probably going to launch whole new investigations into these things. In all honesty, I think so. With the size of the audience that you have, the people that you're reaching out to, and the books are going to get out there. And yeah, you're going to ruffle feathers in the UFO community because, it's like the Bigfoot community as well. And the paranormal community.
They hate the UFO community hates the UFO community more than any group. Bigfoot can be kind of bad, right? 99% of people in Bigfoot are super, super nice. And there's that 1% that everybody's that's famous is just super, super hateful and, secretive and all that. The UFO community hates the UFO community. I think we're going to do our first UFO festival next year because we've avoided them. The one we were going to do, we immediately backed out of because somebody seen one of those episodes and was very threatening. And I'm very chill until, I don't know, I have about 18 of these in my... Then people have gone through a glass window before.
He's going to be great down here at the tavern. I can't wait to get him down here at the tavern.
Oh, I know.
If you want help when you go to the UFO convention, let me know. I'll go with you.
Oh, we're going now. It's the theory is much more panned out now.
Well, the movie
So
Nope probably helps out.
I think it hurt somewhat. I don't know. Movies are like that are always kind of on the fence, like Harry and the Hendersons, right?
Yeah.
I think Harry and the Hendersons was a positive. I don't think it was a positive until about 20 years after Harry and the Hendersons.
No, I agree. I mean, because I grew up with, obviously, my family, we've talked about this on your show, growing up with Bigfoot, my family believing in Bigfoot. So when Harry and the Hendersons came out, my parents were ecstatic, and they were just swearing up and down. That was almost like, verbatim of, Bigfoot. And I was, as a kid, going, this is great. But, and with Nope, what's funny because everything you describe, spitting it out. In the movie Nope, they do the same thing. It gets rid of their feelings. It gets rid of their jewelry. It gets rid of everything else. It spits it out.
You can't digest.
Yep. And so
the blood rain is a big part of the book as well. And they have that in there, which raining blood has happened. It's still happening right now. There's a city in India we talk about that has blood rain happen every year.
And that could be how the air currents are pushing them and where they're flowing through, and it just happens to be the right place at the right time.
I'll just save that for the book.
Save that for the book. Yeah, because I want everybody to read the book.
There's tons we never touched on, just so everybody knows at home.
Because I love it when you get on the subject because your knowledge on it and the research you've done, for your theories and to support your theories is amazing. It really is. And it just shows that what your intelligence is, and not only your intelligence, but your common sense, because you come at it from a common sense perspective. Not only you can tell from, your book, from, the research that you do, and it comes across in every one of your episodes. There hasn't been one episode of yours that I can say, man, Justin just was not on his game. No, every one you come at with a strong common sense, and you back it with intelligence, and vice versa. You come out with strong intelligence, and then you back it with common sense. And it's hilarious if somebody tries to, come out of some strange, weird, Bigfoot's riding around with Elvis and a UFO. You're going to shoot it down in a really quick way and then back it up with common sense and intelligence. Because I tell everybody once you start going down, the Bigfoot rabbit hole, you're going to end up down a rabbit hole where there is Bigfoot riding around and UFOs hanging out with Elvis and now Tupac. So
It's happened.
Yep, exactly. And so, and that's what I love about your show, and I love about who you are as a person, and getting a chance to talk to you a lot of times off air, messaging, quick little phone calls here and there. It comes across, and you're so genuine about everything. And I mean, you've lived in your background is similar to mine. You lived in a haunted house. You had a great Class A encounter with Sasquatch, and I want to cover that hopefully on a future episode with you. But I mean, same with the haunted houses, everything. But what can you? The one question is, and I don't think anybody's ever asked you this before. What's the one event that pushed you hard to dig into the paranormal and the cryptid side?
On the cryptid side,
I know the cryptid side one. I know that one. That one you've talked about before.
Bigfoot, but even after I seen Bigfoot, I didn't believe in Bigfoot for years after. I was always super big into lake monsters, sea monsters, that kind of stuff. Because I loved the water, I loved fish, I loved all of it. And knowing what already exists, like sturgeon, freshwater fish getting 25 feet long, white sturgeon, it's the same size as great white sharks ending up in rivers. So, to me, I don't know if it had to be. Okay. So, probably Monster Quest, long time ago, even introduced the subject with the way they kind of handled things and the researchers. Now we're really good friends with Lyle, and we know Ken. And it's just it's super weird. The life I've lived is watching those guys. And now we know them. Like we can call Lyle. Like Lyle's such an amazing, wonderful person, and most of the TV people are like that. Watching now, I can get on a soapbox about this. Mountain Monsters. If anybody's ever seen the show Mountain Monsters, and you didn't like it, you weren't watching it right. You have to go in understanding that Mountain Monsters is not about the seriousness of what they're doing. It's about making a show that is palatable enough to introduce people to the strangeness of cryptozoology. And once you accept that and you rewatch it, and you can ask, I wish Jay was here because he did the same thing. The first time I ever made him watch Mountain Monsters, he's like, this is the absolute dumbest show. And then after we started doing this stuff and I kind of explained him my thoughts, and he loved it. Now we're extremely good friends with Wild Bill. Wild Bill just called him, I think, 2 days ago. So I think those were the things. Cryptozoology I was always into in a way because I always wanted to be a biologist. I was a little kid. I let all the snakes and all the animals out of a pet store when I was like 7. I broke into the elephant enclosure when I was 5 locally. Anybody can look that up. So I believe it was 2000 in the Toledo Zoo. You can look it up. It happened. Where my mom and dad, there was a gate where the elephant transfers, and they started freaking out because there was a kid in the enclosure. My mom and dad looked down, and it was me because I was gone. And that really happened. You can look it up. There's articles about it.
No, I believe you.
I've always had a love of nature and Steve Irwin is a humongous influence. He's in the book talking about him. And once you dive into, I've been very, very blessed to work with endangered species surveys, and I've done a lot of endangered species work. I have found animals next to Amazon warehouses that are supposed to be extinct locally. It's called extirpated. And we found them, right? And after them, we have a whole talk about how Bigfoot makes scientific sense kind of deals. So after all that, I don't know. Hopefully you've answered a question in some way, shape, or form.
Well, to be honest with you, you did. And again, and I really hope that everybody heard the passion you just had in your voice. Because that right there answers everything. To where, for your show and for who you are as a person and for the book, I can tell you right now, you didn't just skim through some Google reviews or anything or, the first Google searches at all for your book. You can tell from the passion what you just talked about, how deep you went in and how much research you put into this thing, and to where you put a lot of heart, and it didn't stop. And I can, knowing you probably try to find a spot where to stop at and realize that you had a part 2 already working,
So, the funniest thing with that is the original. I had to. This book is technically pulled out of the main file. It is about a quarter of what is in the main file. I kept adding and adding and adding. The book was never, ever, ever going to get done because I just kept adding and adding and adding. And yeah, I had to be like, okay, this is multiple different books, multiple things. Because of that, because there's so much more. When the more you dive into it, this subject is so much bigger than you're going to see in this first book. Like I said, this first book is to serve everybody as a good intro in the subject, and for everybody at home to build your own theories and thoughts. I am not the end all be all on this subject. I want this subject to expand way beyond me. I want people to look into it with angles I can't even imagine. And that's the point, is that this is just to serve to introduce people into the idea and to explain what makes scientific sense. And hopefully, I just want to see this balloon into, well, Joe thinks this about them, and Joe, and X thinks that, and Y thinks that. And that's, I think, my big goal. And that's even, I literally have a little paragraph in the book called The Goal. And it kind of basically describes that. I just want to see it done with seriousness and with joy and with people really, really curious about the subject. And this is our biggest environment on the planet. Tenfold. It's bigger than our oceans. It's bigger than any surface, because it's, the depth of it is universally deeper than the ocean and across the whole planet evenly. So when you look at this, these are animals and creatures that, as of right now, are getting no government protections. We talk about it in the book again about there may have been plane strikes with these creatures. Boeing 757 describes hitting a cloud of green jelly and all that stuff. So are we destroying this environment? Are the rockets are putting up? Are the aerosols are spraying, or whatever it's called, the injection mold? I don't even know. With all this stuff, are we destroying a habitat we know nothing about? And you're put on this earth. You're a member of this earth. I'm personally a God-fearing man. I'm a Christian. So I believe in the stewardship of the planet. You are cryptid or not, interdimensional or not, I think it's all connected. And as humans, even though God put us over the animals and over the dominion over these creatures, it is our job to take care of them, their environments, So I'm worried that we're actively destroying what could be the most amazing biosphere ever discovered on Earth, with jellyfish that are 8 times longer than a Boeing 757, and manta rays that do these giant figure eights filter feeding, snakes that put on these light shows you wouldn't believe. And nobody recognizes them yet. So I guess that's the goal.
Wow. I'm going to stop you right there on the book, because that is the best spot, the end. You should write that down.
I'll never remember.
That's drunk. Okay. You know what? You can go back and listen to the show.
Recorded, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I record. Yes, that was Justin. We're not ending the show there, but we're going to end the book part there. We're going to go just a little bit longer because we got a couple of things you and me need to talk about.
Anymore. If you want the book, it comes out November 25th on cryptidsofcorn.com internationally. November 25th. If you want a signed copy in person, the first show we're offering it is Crypticon in Lexington, Kentucky, November 23rd and 24th. If you want that, you can come get it.
There it is, folks. There it is. Speaking of shows, so when this episode airs will be the announcement day, by the way.
Good.
So we'll just go ahead and make it official now that on April 5th of 2025, between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m., the Cryptids of the Corn crew is going to be hanging out down here in North Little Rock at Old Bart's at the Diamond Bear Brewery. We're going to be doing a live show.
Oh, I have it the 14th.
No, it's the 5th.
I'm picking on you.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's super excited, a live show. So we didn't do any live shows this year due to my twins being born. So it just had twin girls. So
Yes,
it's super exciting to get
congratulations,
back
by the way. So in case y'all didn't know that, the first recording I was supposed to do with Justin, they were testing it out at the hospital, and we had so much fun. And unfortunately, the sound was horrible.
Oh, it was.
So we had to redo it.
The Wi-Fi was horrible. The recording equipment was bad. It was my headspace wasn't there. It was a high stress situation. So we had to redo it, but we had fun.
It was fun. The second one was fun too, because you already knew the story, and I love watching Jay's reaction and getting Jay like, "What?" I love Jay.
That's what I live for.
I'll be honest with you. Same thing. I look at Jacob across the table. I knew you were talking about. I was looking at Jacob, and Jacob was like, "What?"
Oh yeah.
So, but anyways, back to our show. So, Drunken Cryptids, Cryptids of the Corn, hanging out together. They'll be at the tavern the night before. That's only going to be for special guests. It's very, very, very special guests only of the Drunken Cryptids. Sorry, I'm the Cryptids of the Corn guys. I just real peculiar who I have at my house. But y'all are staying with me that night, though. Y'all coming down. Y'all staying with me. Yeah. So Justin and Jake will be staying here at the tavern. So, and then we're doing a live show. I'm super excited. When you approached me about it, I'm not gonna lie. I've been like a kid in a candy store, bouncing up and down, giggling. I mean, I get a chance. Like I said, I've idolized you guys, and like I said, you're my daughter's age, but my oldest daughter. But I've idolized the way you guys handle everything, and so this is such a huge honor for me. To have you guys with it. I'm excited. I can't wait.
We only do it with people we have fun with.
Well, I appreciate that, because we're a lot, and I've been I'm not going to lie, through the whole entire episode, I've been kind of starstruck with you, because again, I feel like I'm listening to one of your episodes, so I've just been sitting here going, oh wait, I got to ask questions,
Oh, I can ramble for hours. Podcast, have somebody that doesn't shut up. It really works. So super, super excited. It's going to be so much fun. The bar brewery, I've never been, the brewery. Oh, gosh.
Well, so here's the downside. The brewery's being sold, okay?
Not the brewery, the barbecue.
Yeah, so the brewery part, the brewery part's being sold to the building, but the barbecue's staying there. And so it's Old Bart, and let me tell you, the barbecue's great. Paul, who is their main chef down there, he puts so much love and care into everything that he prepares. And you're going to love it. The brisket is amazing. They got this macaroni and cheese brisket thing. It's just, oh my gosh.
I have to try that next time we go.
Oh, it's great. But I'm excited. It's April 5th, you guys. Tickets go on sale.
How this works is from the 5th, or from 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. It'll be the live show area. We each do an hour presentation roughly. So there's 2 hours to hang out, an hour before, an hour after. We'll each have merch and all that kind of fun stuff. It's a good way to get basically, private shows, live podcasts. Me and Jay, personally, what we love about these live shows is what we absolutely love is we don't do any video aspects to our show. 99% of the time. Every once in a while we do YouTube live, but it's very, very rare for us.
Same.
So I have all of these videos of really cool stuff. Like we have one that is literally videos of living UFOs caught on camera. And I can't do that with a podcast. I can't be like, okay, well this cloud has golden sprinkles inside of it and it's moving against the other clouds and you can see it flap there. Like for a podcast it sucks. For a live show, we can watch it together, we can break it down, and it seems to be such a more fun experience. We've done Unextinct Animals caught, and you guys can't see it, but I'm actually wearing the Unextinct Animals by our friend Chris Goings, Black Sheep Studios, for our one of our t-shirts. Not Unextinct Animals, I'm sorry, I'm wearing Out of Place Animals. So the live show aspect so much fun. I fell in love with Arkansas the first time I ever went, and it was southwestern Arkansas. Basically Millwood Lake, Ashdown, and Ashdown was the city we fell in love with, which is just the slowest living ever. And Arkansas is such an amazing state with so much diversity.
It really is. And being from Utah, I've been here for 20 years, and I love the place. I absolutely love it. I mean, there's within an hour drive, you could be totally different. within the same state, though, and it's just a small state, and we get overlooked by so many things. And I kind of like that fact that we get overlooked. I really do.
Oh yeah.
Small?
The mall?
You think your state's small?
Well, I know you guys you're Ohio, but everybody knows Ohio.
No, I mean, you mean size or population?
I'm going to go with population.
Oh, okay. I'm like, so when I go to Millwood Lake, Arkansas, Ashdown, Arkansas, when I get to Arkansas, the drive's halfway over. Yeah, it's like 15 or it's about a 14-hour drive. It takes me about 7.5 hours to get to Arkansas, and then about 7.5 hours going through Arkansas.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're coming from where you're coming from, yeah. I
So
see
it's
that.
just to us.
Well, I live in Central, so for me, everything is like
3 hours away.
3 hours away.
Yeah. No, for us, our whole state's the longest distance you can go across our state is about 4 hours. And that's really if you're going from like corner to corner.
Yeah, because the only place I've been to in Ohio has been Cleveland, which is weird because I'm like a diehard Steeler fan, and I've been to Cleveland twice. But that was for one of my older jobs when I got out of the service. We had conferences up there, and I felt like I was going to get beat up by the Browns fans.
Yeah. If the city starts to see in Ohio, it probably sucks.
Yeah, especially their football teams. Yeah, go Steelers. Sorry for my Bengals fans and my Browns fans, but I gotta love to hate you, and vice versa. You gotta throw that out there. I still try to figure out what's up with the Cleveland Brown elf.
I have no idea.
I mean, they have this giant elf on their field.
Didn't it used to be a bear?
No, it's a brown, but now they have an elf. They have this. It's an actual, looks like a Keebler elf right there in the middle of their field on their field.
Actually, a puck wedgie.
Now I bet it is a puck wedgie. Maybe that's why they suck so much.
I'd be careful.
I know. I have this thing with the Fae. I think me and the Fae are kind of going at it, to be honest with you.
I wouldn't advise that plan.
Well, I don't, but for some reason, I think they like to mess with me, and I kind of tend to mess with them back. And so far, for the past, I don't know, about year, I think it's been now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been really kind of friendly, mischievous, but
It's never. That's wrong. You're being
oh,
lied.
I know. I crack jokes about the Fae all the time. I do. I if something weird happens, I'll look at everybody and go, that's the damn Fae. Some of my episodes, people will talk, and I go, it's the Fae. It's the Fae. So
if you want to come to our live show, you can get tickets at the link below.
See, I like how we went right back to it. I ramble on and on and on, and he comes right back to the main topic. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the link below, which the link will be posted because Justin's going to send me the link for it.
I already did, I thought.
Yeah. Well, you said you were working on a website, weren't you?
Oh, it's on our website. As of Thursday morning when this comes out.
Yeah, this Thursday morning.
It will be live on cryptidsofthecorn.com, but you have the link to add it to your website, too.
It sure will be because it'll be on our website.
There you go.
Yep, because we just got a whole new website built.
So it doesn't matter where you buy tickets from; they will all go to the same pot. It's an Eventbrite link, so you'll be if you go to through our page, you'll just be transferred to the Eventbrite page once you click the link, and you just buy your tickets there. There is only 50 tickets available, and there has already been several sold to Patreon and private members groups.
That's correct. Yep.
So we cannot wait to see everybody out there. It's going to be a ball. I'll probably be fishing in the river until the show. It's only it looks like it's walking distance from the bar.
Kind of. It's walking. I don't know how far you want to walk.
No,
We walk a lot up here, but we're flat, so I don't know.
I have this great Jeep. We just drive on over and drive right back.
There we go.
Because by the time you get here, the bridge will be done completed, and I got a great spot once they're done with the construction of the bridge because they're redoing the bridge, and this just about finished up, and I got this great spot over there by the submarine.
The bridge
is that the White River?
No, that's the Arkansas River.
The Arkansas River. Okay.
Yep. I got a great spot for us.
Yeah, so that's the live show. So I hope everybody can make it. I know a lot of our Oklahoma listeners have already bought tickets because it's the closest we're coming to them next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun. Now, so so your events you're going to, you're going to be at, you said in Kentucky on the 23rd and 24th.
Frogman, the first weekend of March in Ohio, which is in Loveland, Ohio. which is my wife's hometown. That's where my in-laws live. It's a great little town. Um, it's a little hoity-toity for me as being a Northwest Ohio guy from the farmlands. It's a suburb of Cincinnati, but it's really nice. It's really pretty. The breweries downtown are really excellent. There's a place I cannot speak highly enough of. It's called the Monkey Bar, and it never had a monkey, but it's called the Monkey Bar. They had an orangutan in a cage that would light your cigarettes and cigars for you.
That is awesome.
I like that. The Monkey Bar.
Long time ago. That was like in the 70s.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so you're doing that one, but there's a big event that you put on.
Oh, gosh.
I know. This one I'm excited for. Yep, go ahead.
The Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree 2. And as of recording this, it went spectacularly. The first year we ever did it, it had a very good turnout. As far as I know, all of our vendors have signed back up for next year. Plus, we're adding 15 more spots, so that's going to be really fun. We're also adding several other events in the works. I won't promise anything as of now. In the works, it looks like we're going to have a cornhole tournament, which, if you guys are from the Midwest, is a big, big part of Midwest culture. We're also going to have a family area with, which I think somebody's going to be one of our speakers.
Yeah, I wonder who that could be.
But the family area is going to be free. There is tickets for the VIP stuff and the speakers in the VIP area. But this family room is going to be geared towards shorter presentations and having your kids come with you and that kind of stuff. Because that was something we had requested a lot this past year. It's because the big presentations are hard when you have 4 or 5, 6-year-olds to sit through an hour and a half or whatever presentation. So like half-hour ones may be better. But yeah, Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree. Tickets will go on sale publicly. I think we said April 1st. So if you want the VIP experience, plus the VIP dinner and all that stuff, we have had so much support. The speakers we're signing right now, we're talking to, are amazing in all aspects of everything. The crews, the vendors, the podcasts, everybody that's coming out is an absolute doll, and we appreciate all the love and support. We don't have anything like this near us. Our nearest festival is about 3.5 hours away. So yeah, we had Mountain Monsters. We had some of those guys come up. Wild Bill is a personal friend of ours now. Like I spoke, very highly of Mountain Monsters earlier. That's another crazy thing that's happened doing this stuff. If you'd asked me 4 years ago, before we even thought about starting this, would I know these people? Would I know Lyle Blackburn? Would I know Wild Bill? I would have told you you're crazy. And they are the dearest, nicest human beings. I gotta tell you, with the cryptid world, individually, everybody's so nice. It's very humbling to meet somebody like Lyle or Wild Bill that's been on TV or had TV shows that have gone on for longer than a decade and just be people, right? So that's an amazing thing. And they're just people. Like, go talk to them. If you're at a festival with any of these people from TV, just go talk to them. They're just people, guys. And 99% of the time, they're going to treat you just like they're just people. They're happy to be there. They're happy to meet you.
That's how I felt, honestly. And I feel that the same feeling. When I had a chance to sit down and, visit with Todd Neese, and now me and Todd Neese have this really great friendship. And we talk every day. And, he invited me to come up and be, part of, a film documentary, Search for Sasquatch. And if you'd have told me, honestly, same thing 4 years ago, that, hey, I'm going to be filmed in a documentary, looking for Bigfoot, actually, I'd have laughed at you. And now I'm being invited to 2 more expeditions for next year. One of them very big, and we're keeping that one on the wraps. It off the air. But but to be, invited and to want to be included in this, I would have never thought and at all that I would get an opportunity to do this and to get a chance to, visit with people like you, honestly, Justin, who, are into this field. And it's where you are now. You're no longer one of the people on sidelines watching. You're on the field playing. And so, and I know that, sometimes for you this can be, hard to put on, but you're putting on your second Bigfoot Jamboree. and you have all these, celebrities and, these people who are into the field who are coming to be a part of your show. You're not part of theirs anymore. They're part of yours. So you're no longer sitting on the sidelines watching. You're on the field playing. So having you on my show is an honor. And I know it's hard to grasp that. I know it is. But
I just want to say we've had so much help along the way. Just nice person after nice person after nice person, from Jerry from Hillbilly Horror Stories to Tony from Merkle Media to Joel from his various projects. Free the Rabbits right now, it's his podcast.
Yeah, I listened to that one.
And I mean, like I said, I'm a Christian, and the works of God to help promote this stuff, because it's truly amazing. We are extremely blessed. We did not do this on our own. I tell everybody we did not do this on our own. This is not made by Justin and Jay. This is made by God and help and community. And we would have never got to the level we are without all of that. So I just want to put that out there too.
No, you're right.
What you're saying honors me greatly, but it's not us. We are just guys. We're just guys, and we've been very, very blessed by the people, community, and by God along this path.
And I can say that you are passing it down, because you're passing it down to me, and that means a lot to me that you're helping my show out and helping me out. And through you, like I said, I met the guys at Nevermore Hollows, and the funny story behind that one, real quick, is I heard your interview with them, and I made a mental note to look their show up, and then my life took this really weird, bad tumble right after I listened to that episode. And I forgot all about it until, Chris emailed me. He heard me on your show. And he was like, hey, I just listened to you over on Cryptids of Corn, and I'd like to maybe do some collaboration. And I remember I texted you about it. And you go, oh, man, he's a great guy. And, due to that, I mean, I talk to Alan and Chris like every day now. And it's, it's uplifting. And, and you guys, in the field, in our genre, I'm a dime a dozen podcast. But the chance to visit with you guys and be able to call you up on the phone, like when I was up there filming Search for Sasquatch, I called you, remember? Mm-hmm. I was so excited for, something that happened. I had to share it with you. Like, you're not going to believe this. And I love the fact that you answered my call. And that meant so much to me. So I just want to say, from me and the rest of the crew down here at Drunken Cryptids, man, we appreciate it. I love the fact that when I was just getting started, before I even started recording, we were talking, and I FaceTimed you from the bar, and we all did a shot together.
I remember I was painting the bathroom. I remember that.
Yep.
And it's great. It really is. And we'll help anybody. We had tons and tons of help, like I said already. And it's just to pay it forward. We don't do it as much anymore. If anybody ever needed it, I'd offer it again. But we used to do basically intro classes to podcasting for free. It was just a free thing me and Jay would do, where we would have 10 or 12 podcasts that are starting out and just kind of be like, here's the hurdles that we ran into, and here's how we got over them. So that's, here's, 12 or 15 things, how to work with an algorithm, what that means. I cannot tell you. So out of the 4.5 million podcasts that are being produced in the U.S. currently right now, United States, only 14% of them are considered active podcasts. And so that's a lot of dead noise, essentially. So it's very hard for you to stand out in that algorithm. You're not dealing with a human. You're not dealing with people. You're dealing with an algorithm. And we try to do the best we can. Me and you have talked about that several times.
Yep.
How to work with that thing. It's not intelligent. It's just using it's using an algorithm. It's just an algorithm. That's all it is. So, yeah, we just appreciate you having me on here. I really do.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on yours. And I talked to Gary, and Gary's still down. If you want to pass it on down to the other gang, Wilbur and them.
Oh yeah, somebody will schedule that. That's the only show I don't schedule.
I believe
Please.
that. Oh, and I could tell. And to be honest with you, so I'm about to start working with letting Jacob actually start kind of running because, like we talked about where I'm going to be going next year, I'm going to be out of pocket for about a month. And, the show has to go on, obviously.
Oh, of course.
So Jacob is actually going to start running some of the Patreon shows. He's going to start kind of controlling some of that. I'm going to kind of hold back a little bit, kind of taking notes from, watching the other show you guys produce. And how you guys, how those guys are, how it's being done. So
I think they do a live show next year.
that'd be hilarious.
I think they do, and I really do. I think it's happening in Cincinnati.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
They both have pink mustaches, which is super weird.
Well, it is weird, but I mean, the one guy standing there watching the corn. Seriously, it's weird. How is it? The satellite dish doing okay? Do you know?
It's there. I can see it. Right by.
So what's funny is that I know everybody like, what are they talking about? So Justin produces this other show, and for these guys, and it's called DW Shack, and it's
DW Shack.
It's a conspiracy theory show.
Okay.
So and it's quite interesting.
I might look that up.
Yeah. So I know a guy named Gary,
Mm-hmm.
and so they were talking about trying to get this Gary guy to come on the show. But no, it's like I said, it's a great show. It's hilarious, and they do it's a great job.
I gotta look that up.
No, they do a really good job. So, but I'm excited though. The live show we're gonna be doing with them in April. So
I can't wait to meet them.
Yes, I can't wait for them to come down and meet. I know they're working another live show with another close podcast of ours that we're going to try and go out there too as well. So we're going to be doing that one. And, of course, we are going to try and go to Utah next year as well. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to time in some expeditions and shows at the same time.
All right.
So next year, 2025 is going to be a busy time for the Drunken Cryptids.
Big question. Are we going to the, what is it, Falk?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be going to Falk. I got the kids that weekend. Todd wants me to come down there with him. So I'll probably only be able to be down there for that Saturday.
Okay.
So, but this weekend when I get with Todd, so yeah, because this weekend we're going on expedition this weekend with Todd Neese.
Yeah.
So we'll do a show about that one, obviously. But when I get up there with Todd, me and Todd are going to get to sit down and talk about Falk because the festival, he's going. He wants me to go down there with him as well, and then he wants to. And then for the, I'll be with Todd for the big expedition next year. Yeah. Which was an absolute honor that Todd Neese wants me to go on an expedition with him again.
Of course. Especially there.
Yeah. And I love Todd, but he's retired and his kids are growing and I don't. So I got to work with Todd sometimes on, okay, Todd, I just can't drop everything and go running out to the woods. I got to make sure work's good and I got to make sure kids are good.
Oh, yeah.
So, you make it back yet?
Yeah.
All right. So... But no, I do want to get ready to kind of wrap this on up for, in all honesty. So, but I do want to say that I am going to be at, and I'll just go ahead and say, I am going to be in Ada, Ohio at the second Bigfoot Jamboree, and I am going to be a speaker in the family area.
Yes, you're our first confirmed one for the family area.
Look at that. I'm going to be, hold on. What's funny is that, hold on. No, what's funny is that Jacob's looking at me like, in the family area. I'll be doing the live show trick with the coffee cup.
Yeah.
No, I will not.
I did that, but
let me put my cup behind this table. You do not see the magic happening.
Exactly. And I'm going to have a lot to talk about because, I'll be back from the expedition, from a couple of those expeditions. Oregon is one. I can say that one. But
Oregon's exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait.
The other one's really exciting, even though you're dumb.
Well, I know. You can think I'm dumb, but think about it. That's like the Mecca.
Oh, no, I know things about that place. You're dumb.
I've researched that. I've done lots of research into that place.
I just love it. Yeah, I've done all the research out there. You're dumb.
If I had a way to call you, Justin, if I had a way to call you while I was there, I so would.
I don't want you to.
Be FaceTiming and be like, what's that in the background?
No, denied.
But, okay, so I'm going to leave you with a thought before we get off here. All right? You're going to love this one. So we were talking about doing a show on shadow people, remember?
Yes.
So I came up, I have this new theory on shadow people. I think you're going to love it.
Okay.
Peeping Toms.
Interdimensional peeping Toms?
Has to be. Think about it. Every shadow person encounter that, I mean, in all honesty, I've had one shadow person encounter where I can say, because I did an episode on them, but to where it didn't run away. But every shadow person, if you look over, like right now, I'm looking at Jacob and the house is behind him. So if I look at the corner of the house and there's a shadow person peeking at me and I look over and it knows I see it, it runs away. Just like a peeping Tom does.
So, I don't want to be mean, but Jay, I think that was his big idea about 2 years ago on Patreon.
Was it really?
Yes.
And I hate saying it. I'm not a Patreon member, so I don't know.
It's fine. You don't have to be. Nobody has to be.
No, I know. I feel bad. 'Cause every time you guys talk about it, I'm like, going, I really should be a Patreon member.
We do a lot of fun stuff.
I know.
They got the book 3 weeks early.
I know. So, but no, Justin, I'm going to wrap it on. Yeah, you're ready to wrap it up. I do want to tell you, thank you so much for coming on my show. This has been a huge honor for me, a privilege for me as well.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't end at the show. That's the best part either. I know that I'm going to see you here in a few months, in April. I can't wait for the live show, and I can't wait to come to Ada. I mean, you're coming to my town. I'm coming to your town. I can't wait.
Great. Now, I have a question.
Okay.
How do you guys end these shows normally?
So we don't normally do the bye thing like you guys do. Normally, I just kind of the guest I just kind of say, and thanks again for listening to another episode of the Drunken Cryptids. Stay safe out there. So you for their show, how they go with bye? I think we're gonna tie it in with theirs. We'll do a bye.
Okay.
Well, I also brought a song to end it.
Ooh, which song?
It's a song about organic UFOs.
Oh, good Lord. Ty, play it.
Up in the sky so high, giant jellyfish manta ray moray, bioluminescent lights shining so bright, mistaken for UFOs in the night. Supersized tentacles glow with grace, floating in the upper atmosphere, taking up space, soaring through the clouds without a trace. A beautiful display in the human race. Gigantic creatures of the sky, with pretty lights that catch the eye. Majestic and mysterious way up high, a wonder to behold as they fly by. Up in the sky so high, giant jellyfish manta ray moray, bioluminescent lights shining so bright, mistaken for UFOs in the night. Supersized tentacles glow with grace, floating in the upper atmosphere, taking up space, soaring through the clouds without a trace. A beautiful display in the human race. Gigantic creatures of the sky, with pretty lights that catch the eye. Majestic and mysterious way up high, a wonder to behold as they fly by. A wonder to behold as they fly by. Gigantic creatures of the sky, with pretty lights that catch the eye. Majestic and mysterious way up high, a wonder to behold as they fly by.